So yeah, just it's just keep everything as simple as you can. When it comes to communication, when it comes to learning rules, when it comes to what we do, if you can do that, you're going to succeed. Especially the fans. I really want to tell them is our job is hard and complicated as it is enough. But if you ask questions and instead of jumping to conclusions on what should be done, ask questions, and officials will simplify it for you, so you'll understand it a lot more. It's going to make our job as officials easier. But here's the deal: it's also going to keep officials on board, because we lose so many officials just because of fans, the abuse of it. So just keep everything simple, I would say, and I think you'll progress across the board.
Absolutely. This podcast is out there, and I want younger officials to understand the sacrifice. If you ever believe when you're gone from your house and you're gone from your job and your family misses you and you're doing all these things that you're the one sacrificing, you are wrong. You're wrong. When I'm gone and my wife's raising 4 kids and I'm out refereeing, they're sacrificing, not me. They're sacrificing. So always remember that. That's the sacrifice that your family makes so you can do what you do. And as Lisa Jones, don't get it twisted. That's what she would tell us in camp. That's kind of how that is. So I think that's important for you guys coming up, to make sure that you understand who's actually making the sacrifice when you're not at home.
I had been living in Phoenix and officiating for 3 years, so just getting to know people. And the way I got to know people was through officiating the every Labor Day. Donnie would host, Donnie and Tommy. It was Tommy's tournament, Tommy Nunez, the National Hispanic Tournament. And I got, first thing Donnie says, well, we don't pay you. And I'm like, that's fine. I just want to meet some people. You let me work. He's like, all right, well, come on. So, you get to do some really cool things. You get to referee with all these guys that are here, and Billy and Torto, and Tommy Jr. So we did that, and so that's how I got to know people and got pulled into kind of the Phoenix family.
And now, episode 6, letter F, family. Join Dana Pappas and Nate Acosta with special guests Jimmy Casas, Wilson Holland, and Aaron Schlessinger on the From A to Zebra podcast.
Welcome back to the From A to Zebra podcast. I'm Dana Pappas, back again with my co-host Nate Acosta. We're very excited about today's episode because we get to hang out with some of our great friends, and today's show is really going to be a little bit like a reunion for us.
Today we are talking about our very favorite part of officiating, that is family. The officiating family is something that we spend a lot of time talking about, and something that is greatly important from the A to Zebra family.
We have with us today 3 great officials who are even better human beings. Our dear friends, Jimmy Casas, Wilson Holland, and Aaron Schlessinger. Guys, thank you so much for joining us on the From A to Zebra podcast. It wouldn't be a show without you guys being on. You've been such an integral part of both Nate and my lives and our officiating careers. We're so excited to have you tonight. But before we really jump into talking about family, and of course, wherever else this show might lead us tonight, can you all tell us a little bit about your backgrounds, who you are, where what you officiate, which conferences? Jimmy, let's get started with you.
All right. Thanks, Dana, for having us. We love you. So thanks for everything you do for officiating. Jimmy Casas, started my officiating career and grew up in Denver, Colorado, and moved up to the Pacific Northwest, right outside of Seattle. Been up here for 14 years. Getting ready to start my 23rd year as a Division I men's official. Work under the Big 12 consortium. So that's the Big 12, Missouri Valley, West Coast, Big Sky, Big West, and the Western Athletic Conference. So been doing that for a while, and then been doing a lot of mentoring. And started a mentor program, which is a referee educational forum. I'm sure we'll be talking about that in a little while. So that's kind of my journey where I got started. Got it.
Thanks, Jimmy. Wilson Holland, you're up next.
Again, thank you, Dana. It's very, very good to see you. We miss you, especially in the state of New Mexico. I just want to say that I am Wilson Holland. I am currently the Director of Athletics for Los Angeles Schools here in Los Angeles, New Mexico. I'm the father of 4, husband of 28 years, born and raised in L.A., Lower Alamogordo. And you know what? Thanks for having me on. I've been officiating close to about 35 years, and spent 18 years officiating Division One men's basketball. But came up through the ranks. You know, got to work a couple of state tournaments, thanks to Dana, in the state of New Mexico. So officiating's been just a passion of mine throughout my career and my journey.
Thank you, Wilson. And last but certainly not least, Aaron Schlessinger, close us out.
All right, Dana, good to be back again. Missed you.
Missed you too.
So glad to be here. Thank you guys. So my wife and 2 boys, we live in Chandler, Arizona for about 15 years now. I grew up in Albuquerque, went to New Mexico State, and really that's where my officiating journey started. A gentleman by the name of Paul Laporte, who
Paul Laporte.
we all know and love, Hall of Famer.
Yep.
Got me and a lot of other referees started in his intramural program. So he kind of shoved me out there and then showed me how to make a lot more money and not dealing with fraternity fights. I got into the high school and just absolutely loved it. And so that kind of got me started. Moved up to Oregon for 5 years and then back in the Southwest in Phoenix for 25 years now. 27 years of men's college basketball, 15 seasons of Division One. So it's been a good run, and couldn't have done it without the family on this call right now. I mean, these guys all year round, but every summer. So thank you guys.
We talk a lot about officiating families, and each and every single one of you are a huge part of my officiating family, and not only family, just your family, your friends, some of my mentors, my best friends. When Aaron calls and says, "Hey, you want to play a $250 round of golf at Paco Ridge?" You scrounge those pennies and you figure it out. But every single one of you guys has done an amazing job in the state of New Mexico and across the country, honestly. But tell us a little bit about what officiating family means to each of you, and we'll start with you, Wilson.
Just what you said is that friendship, that closeness, that camaraderie, people you meet over the years. When you first get into officiating, you meet some people. And I believe your officiating family is very important to your growth and development in its application. Also, you need that family to help with your mental and emotional well-being in this application of ours, because it can get kind of insane. Just like your mom or your dad will let you know about what you can control and what you can't control. And, Nate, we talked about this earlier about them holding you accountable in your trade. And so they help you deal with the impact that officiating has on your life, whether it's on or off the court, and the good, the bad, and the ugly in our officiating. But the experiences that you have from a family, that togetherness, those friendships that last for a lifetime, that's what that family means to me. We just happen to referee, but we're better friends. We become friends.
Absolutely.
When we're finished officiating, we're still going to be friends, and that's that family part. So that's exactly what that family means to me when it comes to the stripes there, Nate.
All right, Aaron.
Yeah, this is you start out and you're refereeing with some friends and some buddies, and you're doing some games, and then you start to become more of a professional. You start getting into higher level games. You start traveling. You start meeting people, all walks of life, right? We referee with firefighters, teachers, police women and men, administrators. We still have no idea what Jimmy Casas does, but that's But, and you get to know these people and all walks of life, and you get to know their families, and you get to know more about their profession, and you have these great conversations, crossover. Maybe there's a business link. Guy sells insurance to the entire staff. It's great. But, and then, as you get deeper into this thing, you start really connecting with a few people, right? We call it kind of maybe your inner circle. Those are your blood brothers, really, and sisters. And, you feel like you could, if you had a tragedy in your family, they would drop anything just to see, what do you need? How can we help? I mean, it's that kind of a bond, right? And so, these guys are all in that inner circle, everybody in the forum, Chris, Donnie, Billy, Tuardo, Kyle. And so it's a really cool bond. And the longer you're in this, more of these you're gonna have family like this. You're gonna build it like this. But it starts at the grassroots level. And when I was taught in this profession and when I first got in, is whatever we do to help you from the veterans, kind of piggybacking on what Jimmy's saying, you need to reach down and pull somebody up with you. So you got to keep the chain going. Very, very important to grow this thing, especially right now when officiating is at such a critical point across.
Man, that's wow. Yeah,
Good
Jimmy.
stuff.
In my humble opinion, I truly believe it's a true brotherhood and sisterhood. And like the guys are saying, it's how and where you meet wonderful people, and we work with people with different walks of life. And so to have somebody to be able to call family that is not your truly blood family is remarkable, because you always know that you have somebody you can depend on when you need it. So when you become, a friend of somebody that you would not even know what kind of personality, walk of life, whatever they do, it's a pretty big deal. So yeah, it's a true brotherhood and sisterhood, and it's pretty awesome.
That's great. Yeah. Sorry. I
No,
talk about it's kind of my mantra, but I do it for the beer after the game, right? And I've had plenty of iced teas and beverages after games, even if I wasn't working with you, And so it's those moments that you spend with your brothers and sisters in stripes that really make this. It really makes it what we enjoy, and that's why we do it.
What's really so important too is we have a thing that we started a long time ago. It was bars and cars, cars and bars, and is when you're driving in a car and you're talking, or when you meet your fellow officials at a bar and you guys are discussing. That's how you truly get to know people, because it's outside of the lines, and that's how you really truly connect. And I think that's very, very big, I think, in our community.
It is. And I think as you guys were talking, I have on my phone a group text that is the forum guys, and it's just forum boys is what it's called. And any high in my life, any low in my life, one of the first groups of people that I text is that forum boys, because I know you guys have been there through laughter, through tears, through highs, through lows, through every significant moment of my life since I've known you. And that band of brothers, that band of sisters that I have developed through officiating, there's nothing like it. And I think that being able to celebrate successes and really grow as human beings and grow as professionals, and Nate hears me say it all the time, I wouldn't be where I am now without all of you, and I'm very, very cognizant of that. And we've talked about on a couple other episodes, there's not another part of sport where I think that there's such a unique bond. The officiating bond is something just so special. And, this episode is special for those reasons. All of you on this call tonight, on this podcast, are family to me. You're all, we were off air talking about my parents saying, hey, make sure you tell our kids we said hello, because it transcends me. It's bigger than me. It's my family too. So, as we get into this, you all are at the core of that officiating family for me. I had first met Jimmy in 2004 at the Vern Harris basketball camp at the University of New Mexico. I had just become commissioner of officials. Jimmy was a clinician, and he was, for lack of a better way to put it, Jimmy was giving one of my officials the business, and I didn't know who Jimmy was at all. So I walked over and introduced myself, and we hit it off immediately. And I was at a point where I was brand new in the position, and I just wanted our officials to get better. Jimmy was hosting a referee educational forum in Denver the following year, and he invited me to come and check it out. So I did, and then we ended up bringing the event to New Mexico. We stole it. I'm proud to say we stole it and had it in New Mexico for 15 years. And really through this process, my officiating family grew. And, you hear about coaching trees all the time. We don't talk enough about officiating trees, but my officiating tree is what it is because of Jimmy and the guys on the staff. So, Jimmy, I want you to maybe tell the listeners, what was the Referee Educational Forum about? What was the concept behind it? Why did you bring it to New Mexico? How did you select your staff? And really, what made that event so special for you and the staff?
Yeah, no worries. So when I first started my officiating journey, I was invited to go to lunch with some college guys, Division I guys, and they'd meet every other Wednesday. And I met them at a camp, my first camp, and we just kind of hit it off. And they saw something in me that I guess, kind of they felt that they'd want to help. So they started inviting me to lunch, and at the lunch, what they would do, I would just sit there and listen, and they would talk plays, they would talk coaches, they would talk everything about officiating. They'd even talk stuff about officiating off the court as well. And it went on for a couple months, and I started thinking to myself, this is really cool. I wish I had some of my other buddies that could, benefit from this. So I just kind of was thinking, I'm like, you know what? I should put something together where we can just kind of have a forum to where people can kind of discuss plays and do different things. And I'll just invite some speakers, and we'll have some topics that we can talk about. So I decided to do that in that following summer, and I got some really good speakers. And what we did is we talked about our main topic when I first started was communicating with coaches. That was kind of the big deal. People were struggling with, how do I really talk to them when they get upset and so on. And I had some really good, like Violet Palmer. I had Vern Harris. I had a couple Division I people, and it went over really well. And so after that, I decided, this is going to work out pretty well. And then when I decided, how I really wanted to pick my staff, it was guys that I worked with on the floor and then became friends with off the floor. And it's not even I don't even call them, officiating buddies. I call them family, as we were talking about. Now, I'm not too proud to say I had my staff was Scott Twardowski, NBA guy, Billy Kennedy, NBA guy, Chris Rastetter, who's now our NCAA rules interpreter, Wilson, Aaron, and it's kind of funny because Nate was a student and developed so well that I asked him to join my staff, teaching and helping out. Who else am I? Oh, Donnie Nunez, who also was one of our observers when we were in the Pac-12. So it was people who I knew who could teach at the level of the officials we were teaching. I wanted to make sure that they knew that just because I had the high level of instructors, that we're going to teach to your level. We're not going to teach you how to be an NBA referee, a collegiate official. What we really wanted to do was teach you how to officiate at your level. Because in basketball, you truly know a foul is a foul and violation is a violation. The biggest thing is, how can we get you in position to officiate, where to get you to look, and so on. Then we would discuss plays. We would have different topics. What was so cool about it, Dana, was how you handle it. Was when I had asked you, what are your topics that you would like to see your officials get better at, and I think what really helped your program is you sent it out to the officials, and they came back with different subjects, and those are the subjects that we hit on. We didn't just say, hey, let's do this or do that. We hit the topics that were going to make your officials better. And so that's kind of how it all developed. And it all started from eating lunch with some Division I officials and then just kind of taking off from there. And I've did it for 17 years and 15 in Albuquerque. But what was so important about taking it to you guys was I just knew your personality and your dedication to what you wanted to do. And I knew that by the way you were talking. And some people say, yeah, we'd like to do it, and then you never hear from them. And your dedication through what you did for those Albuquerque officials, and I should say not only Albuquerque, but the whole state of New Mexico is beyond words. So kudos to you.
It wouldn't have happened without you all, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Wilson, Aaron, you guys were part of that officiating staff. What did that, being a part of that staff, mean to you? What was your favorite part of the forum?
I'll tell you what, it's the opportunity given to me to pay it forward, to give back to the officials in the state of New Mexico. Some of those, officials that were coming up, and I just watched their careers take off. As I was one of those students at the forum, if you remember, and I couldn't believe what we were learning. I was just calling fouls and violations and telling coaches to shut up and sit down. And of course, that didn't go over very well. And then another part of that was the people that are on this call, and Chris and Donnie, little Billy, Twardowski. I look forward to that every year. I look forward to the teaching part, but I also, every year that I went there, we'll look forward for the learning, whether it was Nate teaching us something new, Kyle, Jimmy, Aaron. Being a part of that, you got to learn. And I appreciate Jimmy for putting me on staff, because I didn't have to pay anymore, but I still got the education. And so for me, that was a big part of it. And I think when everybody on this podcast has given back, and will continue to do that. And that was huge for me. That was all it was for me, is to be able to give back to some of the officials in the state of New Mexico.
You guys nailed it. I mean, it was a cool way. And all camps are really, right, is you get to go and connect with the people, and versus just texting or calling, what have you. But Dana always started us off. She'd pick us up, and we'd head over and see Tom Jane, and have a little dinner, and there was where the staff kind of got together and kind of did our own, just catching up, and how's it going? How's the how and how was that call that you sent in? How did that go over? Right. And so it's really, so that starts us off. And then, we get to go and we do our classes. So we set up, and this is great for me, I get to deep dive and prepare some content, some relevant plays, talk about whatever we're discussing, whether it's positioning or, game management, all these other things. We're looking at tape, and we're having open discussions. Jimmy did a really good job of getting us out there and making sure these guys are jumping in and asking them questions and getting to know their names. And so big part of just the summer, and, don't be afraid to attend a summer camp at any capacity, but the forum was special. And then, probably my favorite part was the social, that, that Dana would find a good local restaurant for us. It was usually a brewery. So, everybody would go in and just get to talk to the guys, and get to talk to Billy and, Scott and all these big timers. Tommy was with us one year, and it was really cool for all the guys. And you got to catch up with these people that you had connected with, and how was your season, and what went well, what didn't went well, what's your plans for the summer? Are you looking to go to college? So it was again, it was all about that connection that these guys have been talking about.
If I could throw something out there, Aaron, just
Absolutely
triggered my brain. The forum and Jimmy and everybody, they made you understand how to be comfortable with uncomfortable. And I believe that part right there, that helped me catapult my career as an official, and just in my job dealing with people every day. So I just had to throw that out there. It just came to my mind that, you got to be good when it's uncomfortable. And we all, 5 of us here on this podcast, understand that, or we wouldn't be here. So I just wanted to throw that out. Forum was great. It was good. It was good for me and for everybody in the state of New Mexico.
Well, what was good about it too, though,
point.
it wasn't, and I even made sure that Dana and I discussed this. It wasn't about making money. That was not even in our mindset. Our mindset was, hey, let's get these officials better. So the only thing they really paid for was material, and that was it. We really wanted them to learn something. And I said, Dana, if we can do that, she's like, done. So I thought that was something that was special about the forum.
And I think it was so special because when you talk about the people that were there and letting officials at the high school level see how willing NBA, WNBA, Division I officials are, they're so willing to give back and to pay it forward to high school officials. And I don't think that they understood that until they were sitting, having a beverage with you all at a social afterward, and just getting to know you. And then having a Billy Kennedy go, okay, yep, here's my cell phone number, reach out to me. It was like, oh my gosh. I mean, we know officials are a little weird. We have our idols and icons, just like people like movie stars. We like officials. So being able to sit down and get to know people on that level was, it was just the coolest thing. And it was just a gift that we were able to give to officials, and it helped them expand their family and their network as well, but it made them better. We saw the results on the floor of people that went to the forum and how they were communicating better and understanding positioning better, and a lot of stuff that had nothing to do with enforcement of the rules. It was all of that other stuff that's not in a book anywhere, and that's what makes officials better. You can read a rule book. Anybody can read the rule book, but knowing how to apply it and how to communicate is such a officiating 501 kind of concept. So that I think that's what really made it special.
I'm not sure I've actually learned how to read the rule book yet, though. I mean,
You know, it's funny. I'm gonna later on. I'm gonna discuss that because that is huge. You know, and there's different ways, and I'm gonna get you guys' opinion, but we'll see. We'll talk about that in a little while.
Sounds good. So I'm going to change things up for just a second, and I'm going to make my co-host a guest for just a second.
ooh.
So Nate, you of course had the opportunity to attend the forum as a student at first, and then on the last several years you were on the staff, which Jimmy alluded to a minute ago. Can you tell me a little bit about what that experience meant to you, what that transition was like for you, and how your officiating peers in New Mexico received you going from student to staff?
Yeah, so, when I first started, I mean, the very first officiating camp I ever went to was Schofield and Rastatter's camp. And the idea of paying somebody to learn how to officiate just was mind-blowing to me, right? It was one of those things. So it's like, wait a minute, like I got to spend money to go referee? Like, what's wrong with these people? But after that camp, it was like I was hungry to want to learn. And so I remember my first educational forum, just walking into that room. And at the time, I watched any game possible. So turn it on to ESPN, you turn it on to the Pac-12 network, the Big 12 network, and whatever you could find a game on. And you see Chris Rastatter on, you see Wilson Holland and Jimmy Casas and Aaron Schlessinger, and you throw on an old school NBA game and there's Tommy Nunez Sr. and then you turn on the NBA, you got Tordo and Billy, and you walk into this room at the New Mexico Activities Association office, and here is everybody you just watched the night before on TV, or that previous season. And so you walk in and you're super nervous, you don't know how to act, you don't know do I need to be professional? Do I need to, say the right things and so as you get through the weekend, you realize, oh, I'm here to make mistakes in the classroom so that they can correct it. They can help me get better. And that's when, you realize, man, these guys are the dudes, right? They're just trying to get us better. And so, like anything, just like my first camp, when I saw Chris and Bob present in camp, I wanted to be the person in the front of the room. Not because they were Final Four officials and not because they were working at the highest level, but they were so passionate about officiating and giving back. And that immediately was something that I wanted to do. Was stand in front of the room and teach. And I had that conversation with Jimmy, and Jimmy, didn't really put me on his staff immediately, but I think that he developed me to that time. And I remember getting the call from Jimmy. He goes, hey, I really, how about, not come to the forum this year? And I'm thinking, what? Like before he can finish, my mind's already like all referees, right? We're already paranoid, and he's like, I don't want you to pay for the forum. I want you to actually teach at the forum. And man, I just remember thinking like, man, I get to teach with these guys that I've looked up to my entire officiating career. Like, sure. And of course you're nervous and you don't know that, you don't know what you can provide to the crew that they don't already know, but you quickly remember that it's not about the crew that's taught you, it's about giving back to the people that are following. And so that was kind of that transition. I was still refereeing at the time. I was still refereeing some high school basketball and my transition into some small college and Division I basketball. And that was I think that I was able to relate to a lot of our high school officials, because I was able to see all three levels. And so I was able to give something that these guys not weren't necessarily able to give, because they hadn't worked, a high school game in a while. I think Wilson was probably the closest removed, from high school basketball. But so that was super helpful in gaining the trust of, because let me tell you that forum group was they showed up to that thing every single year. It was the same 20 people, and then there was another 20 people that were random. But those 20 people were, they went there because the expectation was that we're going to get something out of this every single year. And so the pressure was like, well, I better bring my A game. And so, I had fun. I was a little nervous that first year, but it was good. But it also has helped me, and it developed me on the education side, not just as a referee, but how to actually go out and teach.
One thing, Dana, and another thing, how I picked my staff was knowing that my staff was going to be able to connect with the officials at all levels. And that's one thing Nate did. He connected, and he was kind of our liaison as well for the high school association and the different rules. And one thing I knew about the staff is that they were going to connect, and they were going to teach with connectivity to the officials that were there to learn. So that was a huge part of selecting my staff. And like I said, besides that, they're considered family.
And I think such a critical element too. Everybody was good educators, and everybody had the ability to connect, but everybody also knew how to have a good deal of fun. And I always think about the forum. We would laugh until our stomachs hurt, and it was over the silliest things, and it's things that we still refer back to today. I won't put anybody on blast, but
why not? That's the best part of that.
That is, I mean, cachet, khaki. What do you want? So
The total package.
Total package. Donnie brushing his hair with a fork. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that happened at those forums that I'll remember forever. And I think the fact that those guys and your whole staff was so approachable, it made the officials in New Mexico feel like family, which is, what we're talking about tonight. And, along those lines, I've known everybody on this podcast for a really long time. Nate and I have known each other for probably about 15 years, and he's, we had the opportunity to work together at the NMAA. He's one of my very best friends. I talk to him more than I talk to most people in my life, probably. He rejuvenated my career when it was at a point where it definitely needed a breath of life, and I appreciate that. And he knows that already. But just to kind of set this next question up, I've known Jimmy for over 20 years now from the first camp that I met him at. I've known Wilson for almost 30 years, which is weird because we're only 39, so that's really strange. But Wilson was a high school basketball official when I was first at the NMAA, and he was a football coach. I don't know if people even know that Wilson had this whole coaching life before all of his officiating started. And then, of course, as he transitioned into athletic administration. And Aaron and I actually know each other the longest, which is the weirdest thing. We had lost, we went our own separate ways. He was in Arizona, and we reconnected at the Referee Educational Forum in Denver, where I was staring at him. He probably thought I was weird because I was staring at him going, I know this guy. Went to high school with his younger brother, David, and we were able to go, holy cow, we both went to Highland High School, and we reconnected in, Denver 20 odd years later. So with all of that being said, you all, and I mentioned it earlier, you've become a band of brothers for me, really a true source of support for me, for my family. I always give the example of when my dad had his heart attack, and it was immediate. I told Jimmy, and Jimmy told everybody. And then my phone was just blowing up with, what do you need? Should we fly out? Do you need money? Like, it was just no questions asked. It was just, how can we help you? So as I think about that and every other event in my life, happy, sad, or in between, can each of you tell me a situation in your life, either good or bad, when the officiating family's presence was especially meaningful to you? And we'll start this one off with Aaron.
All right. So let's see. In 2002, I had been living in Phoenix and officiating for 3 years. So just getting to know people. And the way I got to know people was through officiating the every Labor Day. Donnie would host, Donnie and Tommy. It was Tommy's tournament, Tommy Nunez, the National Hispanic Tournament. And I got first thing Donnie says, "Well, we don't pay you." And I'm like, "That's fine. I just want to meet some people. You let me work." He's like, "All right, well, come on." So, you get to do some really cool things. You get to referee with all these guys that are here, and Billy and Torto, but and Tommy Jr. So we did that, and so that's how I got to know people and got pulled into kind of the Phoenix family and all kind of nicknames that we don't need to get into. But in 2002, I woke up on Monday morning of Labor Day, right? So we got our playoff assignments. We're all ready for Monday playoffs, and I get like 20 text messages, from family and missed calls. And my father had passed away suddenly over. It was like, wham, okay, we just switched gears and called Donnie and let him know. But I mean, for the next 2 months, I was inundated and I was overwhelmed, and my family was overwhelmed by the people that I knew in this fraternity that we have. And they just, flowers and texts, and we even actually used to email back then. But just calls and support, and it was something for me that helped get me through the next month of kind of basically being the patriarch in the family after this happened. And so, what do you say to that? It was pretty incredible, and it spoke a lot, and it wasn't expected because I just didn't know people that long. But, so that kind of thing is what really has impacted me from a family standpoint.
Yes, I get it. When you're going, I don't even know these people that well. It doesn't matter. Length of
Right.
time doesn't matter. None of that matters. You're in. Jimmy.
I'll go with when I first got the letter back in the day when I first got hired. We got a letter in the mail when I got hired at the Division I level. And
Was that by courier, or were they driving
Yeah.
vehicles?
Yeah, Wells
That's
Fargo.
Stagecoach.
Yes,
Pony
Stagecoach.
Express.
See, we're supposed to be friends. This is supposed to be a friendly podcast. So,
Stagecoach Mary.
all fun and games. So when I got my letter, and I was at the National Hispanic Tournament in Phoenix, and my wife had called and said, "Hey, you got a letter from the Mountain West." And when I opened it up, it said, "We'd like to congratulate you, invite you on to staff." And the first people I called was my little group of guys that I wanted to share it with. And then before I knew it, just like, as you just start getting texts and bombardment, congratulations from people that you barely know or you've known for a while. And it was a feeling that you can't describe, but you try to describe how all the hard work you put into it. And it's a pretty awesome feeling. And for all you young officials, new officials that dream about becoming a Division I, NBA, whatever level you want to become, it's going to be pretty cool. And make sure you share it with your friends, because before you know it, they're going to be family.
Love that. Wilson.
Easily hearing from you, Dana, when I got that first state tournament assignment and got to work a third place game. Back then we had the third place game, man, and I was so fired up. And yeah, I was excited, and your true referee friends were excited for you. And I was always the one that was excited for other people that were successful, however you define success, when something good happened to them. And I always will be. And just what Jimmy said too. We were at our other house here in Los Lunas, and I go out to the mailbox, and I opened it, and it was a letter that said Mountain West. And I ran inside my garage, through the kitchen, ran over my son Jacob. He took a charge. We're both on the floor. I'm holding up letter to my wife while I'm on the floor going, I got hired. And let Jimmy know and Vern know, and they were all fired up, those times. But there's other times too. I was coming up in basketball. Gary Sanchez from Highland High School, Gary, longtime referee, says you need to go to the Vern Harris camp. Jimmy was a clinician there, and I went a couple of years in Denver. And Vern says, man, you have an opportunity to be really good. This was like my second or third camp. Because my first camp, we had a game, and Vern came up to us and said, none of you bleep can referee. But, a couple of years later, he sent me to Marlis camp. And I was like, I'm the man. I'm going to go down there, and I'm going to get hired. I'm the man. Man, I went down to Marlis camp in Phoenix. On that Sunday driving home, I called Vern. I was almost in tears. And I was just, man, I thought I was good, but I'm not very good. He goes, exactly. You can be good, though. And I was really down. And Vern did that on purpose.
Yeah, he did.
And it's called humble pie. I saw a lot of women who could referee really well. A lot of people at that camp that could referee. But I didn't stop. I went back, second and third year and got picked up by Marlon and Bobby the same year. So I had highs and lows. I worked 3 Big Sky championship games and ended up getting let go in the Big Sky, and that was a low for me. And someone says you just got to keep on grinding and hopefully you'll have more peaks than you do valleys. And, that was a while ago, 2015 or 16, whatever, but I don't mean to take up too much of the podcast time, but I just want everybody to know there's highs and lows in this. And your family, your true officiating family, they're going to stick by you. And as we all say, longevity, I'm still here. And as an official would also say, when you have more years than you have games, you might want to think about getting out. I still got more games than I have years.
Good advice.
I feel that I'm still going positively. So anyway, just to let people know there's highs and lows in this business. And you got to be able to overcome adversity.
I love that you brought that up, Wilson. Thank you so much. And it's been cool being able to see kind of your whole career from your first years all the way through. It's been really, really an honor to watch you ascend through the ranks over the years. Nate, before you roll into the next question, what about you? Tell me about a time, good or bad, when the officiating family was really, their presence was really meaningful for you.
I'm actually going through it right now. And it's all positive because I am in that point in my career where, every year is getting better. And with every improvement, I reach out to this family, the Forum Boys, and, a few of my other mentors, and I get to celebrate, my next accomplishment and the next step in my officiating journey. And so I'm of the generation where we don't get letters. We get an app invite that you've joined a conference, and that's how you find out that you get hired. So, but with every new conference that's added and every new opportunity, it's that officiating family that really understands what it means. I've got a very supportive family. I've got some supportive friends that aren't in the officiating community, and they're just like, wow, good job. And you're like, well, it's a little bigger than just a thumbs up, but but it's these folks, it's the mentors that really work. Back home in Las Cruces, I have a really strong officiating family, and those folks I still look up to. I still think that they're better officials than I am every single day. And they never were given the opportunities that I was given. But I can tell you that they are the first ones to step up and celebrate when something positive happens. And of course, just like we on this podcast, we're giving each other a little bit of a hard time, but, they'll find a way to make fun of me in that, in that celebration. But you know what? Like, holy cow, they totally they lift me up. And when we have those lows, and I have those lows just like everybody else, they're the first ones to kind of pick you up and kind of push you to keep grinding and keep going. And so that's kind of, where I'm at in my career.
I appreciate that. And, Nate, I got to see at his very first camp when he was at the Southern Arizona Officials Camp, and got to see his first Division I basketball game. I promised him when he got hired into Division I. I didn't say if. I said, when you get hired, I'm going to be at that game, because, Nate is somebody who always wanted to, like he said, he wanted to be the guy at the front of the room, and I applauded that from the get-go. He always wanted to know how to make the association better. He put the association above himself, and if if you're somebody who is just getting started officiating and you're listening to this, think about how you can invest in your association and the things that you can do to make it better, because they need leaders. Local associations need leaders. They need people who have the best interest of officiating in mind. And Nate, even at a ripe young age, he was that guy. So he was somebody that I knew he would be successful just because he was so hungry to do more and to be better, not just for himself, but for his association, for the state. And that was something that I was just like, yep, we need more like that. So Nate, thank you for your answer, and I'll turn it over to you for
Yeah,
discussion.
Can I comment on the sacrifice really quick?
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, please. We're free flowing.
Absolutely. This podcast is out there, and I want younger officials to understand the sacrifice. If you ever believe when you're gone from your house and you're gone from your job and your family misses you and you're doing all these things that you're the one sacrificing, you are wrong. You're wrong. When I'm gone and my wife's raising 4 kids and I'm out refereeing, they're sacrificing. Not me. They're sacrificing. So always remember that. That's the sacrifice that your family makes so you can do what you do. And as Lisa Jones, don't get it twisted. That's what she would tell us in camp. That's kind of how that is. So I think that's important for you guys coming up to make sure that you understand who's actually making the sacrifice when you're not at home.
I love when Wilson Holland preaches. That's my favorite thing in the world. And that it's so true, because it is you have to have a supportive family at home as well as that officiating family. And, officials back in New Mexico, I would always tell them, I'm like, end of the season, you need to buy your spouse something nice, take them on a vacation, do something, because they've been holding it down for you while you've been working. And I think that, Nate and I were talking about it on a previous episode about those spouses should get awards, because, man, spouses, partners, family, kids, employers, all of them are MVPs in officials' journeys for sure.
Absolutely. Guys, our goal each week from, A to Z podcast is to educate, elevate, and excite officials, prospective officials, and potential officials, fans, you name it. Jimmy, tell our listeners something they don't know about officials to kind of educate them.
I think we're, and it's kind of, you can use it for any part of life, but I'm going to use that as officiating. But we are creatures of habit, and we have to do things a certain way, and that's what gets us in our mindset. But to educate, also, there's a downside of that, and that is that we complicate things more than we need to. So to educate, I would say officials, fans, and so on, is to just keep it simple. Keep what we do simple, such as, how we video breakdown, how we study rules. When we do rule studies, I tell the younger officials, newer officials, the vernacular in the rule book can get kind of crazy for some people. And, the verbiage can, people can kind of get lost in it. And when I started, when I was coming up, I was telling guys and gals that when you have A1 is covering A2, or excuse me, A1 is covered by B1, and off ball B2 fouls A2, and it just starts to get crumbled. What I told them is start using people's name that they recognize. Use family names. So instead of saying A1 is fouled by B1, I would use, for example, Dana fouls Wilson. So now I'm actually visualizing what's actually happened. An off ball B2 fouls A2, then I'm going to say Nate fouls Aaron. So I'm visualizing it, and it's just keeping it simple so I understand it a lot more.
When my mom was spanking me, was some of that flagrant?
More than you know.
Flagrant too.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, just it's just keep everything as simple as you can. When it comes to communication, when it comes to learning rules, when it comes to what we do, if you can do that, you're going to succeed. Especially the fans. I really want to tell them is our job is hard and complicated as it is enough, but if you ask questions and instead of jumping to conclusions on what should be done, ask questions, and officials will simplify it for you, so you'll understand it a lot more. It's going to make our job as officials easier. But here's the deal: it's also going to keep officials on board, because we lose so many officials just because of fans, the abuse of it. So just keep everything simple, I would say, and I think you'll progress across the board. Just my opinion.
All right. Great. All right, Aaron, tell our
Yeah.
listeners something about the human side of officials to elevate.
Yeah, no, it's the elevate is kind of I guess a common theme for me tonight, but for elevating the next group and for growing the whole really the whole world of officiating, one basketball official at a time, right? You're mentoring, you're giving back, and you're sharing information. And it may not be in the bars and in the cars like we did, but maybe it's through a TikTok video, you're sending videos, but you're connecting to the next group and you're elevating that group so that they can do the same thing, and growing this thing organically. Be a good human being, right? Pay it forward, be humble, take in criticism, and then don't be afraid to give criticism either. You're, and hopefully it's received, and it's not always going to be received. We don't always take criticism well, but that's okay. We're family, we're not going to give up on you. And, we keep that alive, and we're making a difference long term. So
Absolutely.
it's exciting. It's fun. And what you guys are doing, I mean, this is reaching the masses. We did our thing in New Mexico, but this is what you guys, the messages that are able to be put out there through you guys is pretty cool.
Thank you.
The people you've
Appreciate
booked
that.
on this show is amazing. So nice job.
Thank you.
All right, Wilson, you preach. Tell the listeners the best parts of officiating. Let's excite them.
I would say this for me. Again, everybody's going to be different. Their best part's going to be different. I will say this, that excitement of calling that Robertson, West Las Vegas, 7th grade girls basketball game on Saturday morning, the excitement of being in an arena with 15,000 people. You got the best seat in the house. You got VIP treatment. You're close up to the plays. You're engaged. It's like it's a reality show and you're in it. And how exciting is that? I mean, I get in that arena and Bobby Dibler says, he used to tell us, when you get into those places, and I told Nate this, when you're out on that floor in pregame, take some time to look around. Pat yourself on the side. Not that you arrived or any of that, but let them know that you worked hard to get here. That's exciting to me. And the other exciting part for me was an opportunity as an athletic director when I talk to officials. Our kids can't play if we don't have if there ain't no officials there, right, Nate? It's just a scrimmage. Right. That's the exciting part of me, is to get back and to be a part of the game. And I wasn't a very good basketball player, and that's why everybody wondered how my kids were so darn good. But you just have the best seat in the house. And then you get to work with 2 other officials. For the most part, man, you're just having a blast out there. And some people think the fear aspect of it. Fear is a good thing if you use it correctly. There's nothing wrong with that. So get excited about giving back. Get excited about having the best seat in the house. And get excited about pulling someone else up. And what does that mean? There's some officials right now that are working the NCAA tournament. They call me, some younger guy. And we were at a meeting when we were in Phoenix. And John Higgins said something about telling people you can be better than Wilson Holland. And I do that all the time, as I tell Nate. And this official texts me while I was in the room and says, hey, you did that to us. You told those coaches to get off our backs because they're going to be way better than me someday. And that's the exciting part too, man. And I'm so excited about if Jimmy gets to the tournament, or Nate gets to the tournament, or something just happens successful. I'm always excited about my friends and other officials. I'm the guy that sits on the couch watching college basketball, rooting for the referees. I'm not the guy sitting on the couch waiting for them to screw up so I could call somebody. If something does happen and we call somebody, we're discussing that play so it doesn't happen to us, so we can get better. And we need more of that. Man, officiating's exciting. What a rush. Everybody on this page can tell you, man, what a rush. So sorry to mean to take so much of your time,
No,
but
I loved
now
it.
you got me excited because it's exciting.
That's
Especially
why
with
we
the start
asked
of
you
the
that
season.
question, because we knew you were going to bring it home like only Wilson Holland can. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight on the From A to Zebra podcast. And more importantly, thank you for your role in my life and in Nate's life, our professional careers and Nate's officiating career. I don't want to speak for him, but I don't think I'm off base. Have certainly been enhanced and just changed for the better because of all of you. And thank you for what you do for officials and your mentorship and really, bringing people up with you and cheering them on and being that support system and being that family. I love you guys and I appreciate everything that you do. Nate, any goodbyes for the guys?
Hey, thank you guys. And of course, as the season starts, good luck, have fun, stay healthy, and stay in touch. I know that I'll be calling each of you at some point during the season with a play or situation, and I know you guys are going to help me. So
Send those plays. We're all gonna do. We all do it. Things on our phone is like, boom, boom. Hey, look at this play. Jimmy, what do you think about this play?
Yeah. And by the way, Wilson, will you quit sending so many plays you screw up? God, all alike, bro.
He was waiting to get that dig in.
Library about not the referee.
Guys, thank
Love
you
you,
so
Dana.
much.
Thank you so much. Love you,
Have
Nate.
a great
You guys are the best.
season. And thanks for everything you do.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Dana.
it.
Thanks,
All
Nate.
right.
Good seeing you guys.
Next week, join us for episode 7, letter G. Our special guest next week is Noah Katz of the Umpire Channel, a young man who is changing the way the public sees officiating through social media. He will be talking about gumption, something he has a ton of, and we are looking forward to hearing all about it, sharing it with you all. Check us out on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and X to find episode recaps and previews of upcoming episodes. Thank you for joining us.
Be sure to hit that like button, follow, subscribe, and also catch From A to Zebra on Instagram at from_A_2_zebra, Facebook From A to Zebra podcast, and on X at From A to Zebra.